Welcome back, my dear brothers and sisters. You're back at our channel, Grand Talks YouTube channel. This morning, I will be presenting before you an important topic related to the paper called Language Across Curriculum. Though this is a topic included in the paper Language Across Curriculum, this video will be useful for all those who want to know something about the strategies for developing their speaking skill or the speaking skill of their students. By the end of this video, you will be able to define what speaking skill is. You will be able to list out different aspects of effective speaking. You will be able to list out different strategies which you can make use for helping your students develop their speaking skill. You will be able to list out different activities which you can make use for helping your students develop their speaking skill. And there are some PLOs, Program Learning Outcomes as well. By the end of this course, you will be able to speak in an effective manner. You will be able to modify your speaking process. You will be able to make your students develop their speaking skill. You will be able to make use of different strategies for helping your students develop their speaking skill. You will be able to make use of different activities for helping your students develop their speaking skill. So, I welcome all of you to this useful video. And first of all, we should know what speaking is. What is called speaking? Speaking is the process of producing meaningful symbols of sound for conveying or sharing the message, information, feeling, knowledge, etc. The ability to produce sound symbols to represent the ideas or knowledge pieces which you keep in your mind. It's an encoding process just like writing. Because you have got some knowledge in your mind, or you are keeping some message in your mind, or you have got some feelings, and you want to convey these feelings to another person. And there is no method or way to convey this feeling as it is by transferring it to the mind of another person in the same format. So you are making use of some symbols of sound which represent what you have kept in your mind. So it's an encoding process. You're transferring your thoughts, feelings, messages, or concepts into sound symbols, which should be decoded by the listener to understand what you want to convey. So this is speaking. And speaking skill is the ability to transfer the ideas, the emotions, the feelings into sound symbols. And when you think about speaking skill, is one of the major skills of communication. And most people believe that it is the most important language skill. I don't believe so because I think listening is the most important or most significant language skill. But most of the people feel that speaking is the most important language skill. If you're able to write well in English language, and if you're not able to speak well, you will not be getting more popularity. Compared to the popularity gained by a man, a person who is able to speak well in English language. So if you're able to speak well in English language, actually you're getting more respect, more recognition, more popularity among others. And it is perhaps the most difficult to be acquired because it entails minimum time duration for plan. Yeah, when writing, actually you can write by thinking, by referring. But when you are speaking to another man, you have to think instantaneously because when you get something from the other person, you have to respond to that person on the spot, and you will not be getting enough time for that. So it is the most difficult skill among all the language skills. And we know that most of the people are struggling to speak in a foreign language, though they have got a commanding power in writing in that particular language. And when we want to speak, we have to keep these factors in our mind during the process of speaking. If you want to make your speaking more effective, and this is how you can make your speaking more effective, or these are the factors which help you in making your speaking more effective. The first thing is selection of vocabulary. Second one, correct pronunciation. Third one, accurate grammar. Fourth one, nature of the receiver. Fifth one, facial expressions. Then voice modulation, body language, and gestures and postures. Let's look in detail. Selection of vocabulary. It's very important to select words which are simple, contextual, meaningful, and clear. You can use bombastic words when you deliver speeches for some academicians, before some genius people, just as Shashi Tharoor does, just as Shashi Tharoor is doing nowadays. But when you speak to, or when you indulge in conversation, then you should try to set simple words. Simple means according to the nature of the listener. And your words should be contextual. You should be able to select some words on the basis of context, because the same word can be possessing different meanings in different contexts. And you should be able to select the words on the basis of the atmosphere on which you are speaking. For example, when you talk with a person at a funeral, you cannot select some words which you can select when you are speaking with a person at a wedding function. Then you should be able to select meaningful words, because you want to convey your feelings, you want to convey your message, thoughts, concepts, knowledge, and so on. So you have to be able to select meaningful words, and you have to make it clear. You should be able to make it clear to your listener. So this is selection of vocabulary is something important in the case of effective speaking. Then the second one is correct pronunciation. This is also important. Pronunciation is an important factor of standard and effective communication. One should keep the accepted pronunciation of a particular language when speaking in that language. You may not be able to speak in English language just like British people speak at their native place. You may not be able to make use of Oxford English when you speak in English language. But you should be able to select an English pronunciation which is being accepted all over the world as an international standard pronunciation. For example, in some states in our countries, people tell morning sometimes. And a person from another country may not be able to understand that. Actually, the real pronunciation of examination is examination. But even if you are not able to pronounce examination, and if you pronounce examination, any person from any country can understand that you are telling something about examination. But without doing that, if you tell examination or if you tell examination, sometimes a person from another country may not be able to get it. So you should be able to keep an accurate pronunciation, correct pronunciation. That is, you should be able to make use of an internationally accepted standard version of pronunciation. That is something important. Otherwise, sometimes some people from some countries may not be able to recognize what you are talking in English language. Then accurate grammar. Some people tell that grammar is not important in the case of spoken language. Grammar is not that much important in spoken language as in written language. But still, you should be able to use accurate grammar. If there is no need for learning the rules and regulations of language, but you should be able to use accurate grammar. For example, if you want to tell a person that I came there yesterday, and if you tell I came there, then the another person will realize that you told that you came there yesterday. You had come there yesterday. But if you tell I will come, then meaning is different. But you should not be keeping the knowledge that will is the auxiliary verb of future or came is the past tense, simple past tense. There is no need for knowing that knowledge, knowing that this is auxiliary verb and this is simple past. But you should be able to make use of correct tense when you speak. That is accurate grammar. So even if you are not able to tell the rules and regulations of the grammatical rules and regulations of a language, you should be able to make use of accurate grammar. Otherwise, the receiver may not be able to realize or understand what you're trying to communicate. Then nature of the receiver. You should think about the nature of the receiver when you speak something to a person. I told you that you should think about the age level. You should think about the language capacity. You should think about his mentality. I always use this Example in my class, Dr. Samuel Johnson once told when I was walking on the banks of the river, my perpendicularity became horizontality. If you just make use of this sentence to a school student, what will be there? If you just make use of this sentence to a common man, what will be there? Actually, he wanted to tell, when I was walking on the banks of the river, I fell down. But he just told my perpendicularity became horizontality. So such words and sentences should not be used when you are communicating with a person who is not well educated, who is not a grown man. So you should think about the age level, the capacity, the linguistic capacity, the mentality of the listener whenever you are speaking to a person. And you should select the vocabulary, you should select the grammar, you should select the sentence pattern on the basis of the nature of the listener. Then facial expressions. You can communicate without any facial expression, but if you want to make your communication more effective, you should be able to show wonder on your face when you are saying something wonderful. You should be able to show fear on your face when you are saying something about a fearful event. You should be able to show sadness on your face when you are telling something about some losses. So, only when you are making use of the correct facial expression, your mental feelings and your emotions will be truly conveyed to the listener. So, it's also important in the case of speaking. Then now we are moving from that topic. Now you can look at some strategies or ways for developing speaking skill in your students. If you want to make your students develop speaking skill, especially in foreign language, you have to make use of some tricks. You have to make use of some strategies. Let's look at some strategies which will be useful for helping your students develop their speaking skill. First one, creating confidence. This is something important. I think most of the people keep something called stage fear. I always tell that this is a part of collective unconscious mind. Carl Jung introduced the term collective unconscious mind and individual unconscious mind. Individual unconscious mind tells that a person's behavior may be affected by some personal experiences in the past. For example, if you were afraid to see a snake when you were a child, that fear may be remaining in your unconscious mind, and sometimes even when you are seeing a rope on the floor, you will be frightened. And this fear is out of your personal experience. Collective unconscious mind is a common unconscious mind that people of a particular area or a particular cultural background may keep some particular behavioral patterns in their unconscious mind as a common practice. For example, mother archetype. A woman starts caring her son or daughter in a particular manner, though she had never experienced such an experience in her past days, during her past days. This is as a part of a custom. So such a love lies there in that unconscious mind. Similarly, if a person is asked to deliver a speech before an audience or to speak before an audience, he will start shivering, though he had never faced such an audience before that. So, for making your students develop their speaking skill, the first thing you have to do, creating confidence in them. You can tell them, please come forward, you can speak. There is no, you don't bother about mistakes. You can tell stories of different people who have got better speaking skill. You can tell Bernard Shaw. Bernard Shaw is known as one of the greatest orators the world has given birth. But he had not been able to speak even a single word before an audience at a particular time. Then he practiced by speaking to trees and plants, by speaking to stones and rivers, and he became one of the greatest orators. You can just tell this story to your students to create confidence in them. The first thing is creating confidence, then creating positive attitude. You should create a positive attitude in your students. You should tell them the advantages they get from by getting a better speaking skill, the popularity, the job opportunities at international level, and so and so. And such things will be creating interest in them. Without making them interested in developing the speaking skill, you can never help your students, or you can never make your students develop speaking skill. So you have to create positive attitude by telling about different people who were delivering speeches in a particular language and getting more recognition among other people, getting more scope for getting a better job all over the world. So you have to do that. You have to create a positive attitude in your students. Then you should provide opportunity for self-expression. And this is something important because human beings are interested in talking about themselves. I'll be happy if a person asks me to explain myself. Who am I? Whose son is me? From where I'm coming? The features of my native place. So you just make them, or you just give them opportunity for self-expression. So when you tell them to tell their interests, to tell about their feelings, to tell about their places, to tell about their friends, then they will be interested and they will be coming forward to speak well. Then providing new vocabulary and pronunciation. You should provide them new words. You should teach them new words and the pronunciation of such words. You just listen to your students, and when they are not able to produce some words to tell something, you can just help. You can just come forward and help them. When they are hesitating to tell something, when they are not getting some words, so you should teach them new words and their meanings and their uses in different contexts and their pronunciation. So all these things you can do as a teacher, expanding what they say. Sometimes your students may be ready to speak and they may start speaking. And at times they will not be able to complete sentences. Then you can complete the sentences. For example, if you ask questions if the students are trying to answer the questions, if they are giving the first part of the answer, then you can complete the answer. And next time they will be improving. So when they start speaking, you should not keep mum till the end of their speaking. You can interfere. When they are not getting words, when they are telling the first part, then just expand, just explain. If they tell a sentence, a single sentence, then you can expand those sentences into different sentences. You can explain, you can elaborate. Next time they themselves will be telling 4 or 5 sentences on the same topic. So this is you can do, expanding what they say, then rephrasing what they say. If they give a particular sentence, then you can just rephrase it. You can just rephrase it by using some synonyms, or by using some proverbs, or by using some other sentences similar to the sentences. Then they will get an idea about, they can make use of alternative sentences for conveying the same item. You can just make use of the technique of rephrasing. Just rephrasing, just explaining what they tell. Then providing opportunity for whole class feedback. For example, after the end of a class, you can just ask them to tell or to give some feedback on your class. Then if a particular student comes forward and delivering something before the others, then you can ask others to tell something about the topic presented by that particular student. So you have to provide opportunity for whole class feedback. Then voluntarily some students come forward and tell something about the event happened in the classroom. I'm sorry, it's raining outside, so sometimes there may be some noise, I'm sorry. Then instant appreciation. This is an important thing. When your students speak something, then you have to appreciate on the spot. For example, if one of your students deliver something unexpected from a student of that standard or a student of that age level, you can tell it was unbelievable speaking, it was unbelievable presentation. You can just mention the words, the special words and sentences used by your students. So you should give appreciation just after the process. Then, as I told, special mentioning of using standard usages and words. If one of your students uses some special words, some special usages, then you can just mention those words and sentences or phrases. Then what are the activities which you can make use for helping your students developing their speaking skill? There are different activities we can just look. The first thing is delivering a speech, short speech. Just give them a topic or just ask them to select a topic of their choice and make them deliver a short speech. During the first earlier stage, you can just make them write the speech in a paper and just come forward by keeping the paper in their hand and deliver the speech. Gradually, you can make them speak without notes. So just give them topic or just ask them to select a topic and just give them an opportunity for deliver a speech. And this will be an effective activity for helping your students to develop speaking skills. Then storytelling, and this is a wonderful activity. Because children are interested in telling stories and listening stories. When they tell stories, you can see the facial expressions. As I told, facial expression is something important in the case of speaking skill. So when they start telling stories, you can see lots of facial expressions. Because children tell stories in a particular manner, you can see that expressions on their faces. So storytelling can be used as an activity. Then sharing experience. Just make them sharing their own experiences. Ask them to tell something about their experience at a market, their experience at playground, their experience at a place, at home. Yeah. So sharing their experience will be another useful activity, because when they share their experience, actually the words and sentences will be coming out from their heart. So that also will be an effective activity. Then discussion. Discussion is a significant activity for developing speaking skill in your students. Because when they discuss, they will be doing different things. The matter is that they will be listening to the points given by others, and at the same time they will be collecting points from their own mind, and they will be listing out the points. And during the discussion sessions, if some people or some students are able to speak well, the others will get an idea on how to present different points, how to speak on different topics. So it's an activity, it's a collaborative activity, so it will be something effective. Then debate, something like discussion, and during debates actually they will be able to object the points given by others. And for objecting the points given by others, you should get some words, you should get some words, you should get some phrases, you should be able to make use of different terms such as I disagree with that, I object with that, I'm not agreeing with that point. Okay, so such words will be learned by your students. Then role play. You can give roles to different students. You can call two students come forward. You can make a student a policeman, and you can make the other student a person who is coming to the police station for posting a complaint. You can make a person a doctor, and you can make another person a patient, and just make them converse with each other. Then dramatization. It will be more effective because you can see different characters, there is a plot, there is a story. Yeah. Then different characters will be communicating with each other in different manners, in different modes, in different ways. So they will be learning different modes of speaking, different ways or methods of speaking through dramatization. Then you can create English-speaking pair. You can select two students, and you can make them a pair, and you can ask them when they are speaking anything to each other, they should speak in English language itself. It's more effective, or rather in groups. When there are two people, it's more effective. So just make pairs, English-speaking pairs for your classroom. Then imaginary interviews. You can make a person an interviewer, and another person, a person who has got IELTS recently. Then the first person will be interviewing the person who is made a person who has got IELTS recently. It will be creating interest in your students. It will be more dynamic. Yeah, and they will be questioning and answering. So another mode of communication or speaking. And now, You have to encourage your students to interact during classroom transaction. For the same, as a teacher, you should provide them some basic language list. For example, they should be able to ask for repetition, ask for clarification, ask for making requests. Sorry, they should be able to make requests. They should be able to ask for feedback, ask for permission. They should be able to apologize. And for all these things, there are some words commonly used. You should teach all these words to your students. What are those words? You can just make a glance. Asking for permission. You should make your students able to ask for permission by teaching them these phrases. I'm sorry, I don't understand. If some particular student is not able to follow what you are conveying in your classroom, then they should be able to tell that, I don't understand. I'm sorry, I can't follow. Sir, I can't follow. I'm not able to follow you. So just repeat. Could you say it again, please? A particular student feels that she or he hasn't understood what the teacher has just taught. And if he or she wants to listen to it again, and sometimes they will not be telling anything because they do not know how to ask for repetition. So you have to teach them. Could you explain again, please? Would you please explain this part again? Would you mind saying it once more? Can you repeat it again if you don't mind? I beg your pardon, could you repeat your point, please? So such sentences are there. So you should teach them such sentences. Then only they will start asking for repetition in your classroom. A part of developing speaking skill in your students. Then teaching them how to ask for clarification. Just like, could you please tell me the meaning of this word, this sentence part? Sir, you have just uttered a word, fascinating. I have got the meaning, sir. What is the meaning of that word? Could you please tell me the meaning of that word? Could you repeat the instruction again? You just tell them, you give them some instructions. And one person did not listen to you in a clear manner, then the student should be able to ask you to repeat the instruction again. Could you please repeat the instruction? Could you please tell the steps again? Can you help me, please? I don't quite understand what that means. Could you explain it again, please? So you have explained speaking skill. I don't understand what that means. What is speaking skill, sir? Explain it again, please. Sorry, did you say we have to prepare chapter 10? If you give an assignment, my dear children, I am going to give you an assignment. You just prepare an assignment based on chapter 9. And if a student could not understand, if a student got confused, then he should be able to ask you, sorry, did you say we have to prepare chapter 10 or 9? What do we next? When will we have the latest? If you give a process to your students and they have completed 2 steps and they are confused about the 3rd step, then they should be able to ask you, sir, we have completed 2 steps. What do we do next? What should we do next? When will we have the test dictation, sir? So they should be able to make use of some sentences and phrases to clarify the doubts in your classroom. And most of the students are not clarifying their doubts, even though there are some doubts in their minds, just because they do not know how to ask for clarification in English language. So you should teach all these sentences and phrases. Then you should teach them how to make requests. Can we have the best dictation later? If you tell that I'm going to organize a dictation now or I'm going to organize a test tomorrow, students feel that they haven't prepared, and they should be able to ask, sir, we haven't prepared for tomorrow. Can we have the test next week later? Sorry, can you speak louder please? Sir, we are not able to listen to you, sir. Your voice is not audible. Can you speak louder, please? Can you raise your volume, sir? Can you raise your voice? Sorry, I can't hear very clearly. Would you please turn up the cassette? I'm sorry, how do you say it in English? When you give an assignment to your students to write a poem in English language, and then he starts writing the poem, but at times they will not be getting the correct English word for some error. Then they will ask you, sir, how can you tell Manoharam in English language? Excuse me, can you tell me the English for that word? Excuse me, how do you spell it? What is the spelling of that word? Sir, excuse me, how do you pronounce this word, sir? So they should be able to request you in English language. For that you have to teach some phrases and words. Then asking for feedback. Excuse me, is this correct, right? When you give them some assignment again and they start writing, then they have written 4 sentences and they want to ask the teacher whether these 4 sentences are correct. And most of the students are not ready to ask for the feedback because they do not know how to ask for feedback. So you just teach them these words. Excuse me, is it correct or right? Excuse me, why is this wrong? So you haven't given any grade for that answer. So what is wrong with that? Excuse me, have I done this right? Excuse me, is this the way to do it? So you should teach all this, all such words, how to ask for feedback. Then asking for permission. May I go to the toilet? May I be excused? Can I switch on the fan, air conditioner? Can I change my seat? Can't see the blackboard clearly. So asking for permission. If they want to do something and they want to get permission from the teacher, and most of the people do not ask. Sometimes you will be getting angry with your students because they have done something without getting permission from you. Actually, they haven't got the permission from you, they haven't sought the permission from you just because they do not know how to seek permission from others. So you should teach them how to seek permission from others. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. They should know how to apologize. Sorry, I have no idea. If you ask your students a question, then they will not be telling the answer. But even if they are not able to tell the answer, they should be apologize. So these words you can teach them. I'm sorry, I don't understand. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. Sorry, I have no idea. Sorry, sir. I'm not answering the question not because of my bad discipline? I have no idea, sir, so I'm not able to answer the question. I'm sorry, I have forgotten to bring my book or do my homework. Sorry, I have left my book at home. I'm sorry I'm late. It is because I got up late or missed the bus. I'm sorry I'm late. It's because there was a traffic jam. If you teach all these words to them, they will start using these words. And you know, a person can develop speaking skill only by speaking, not by reading books. Then group work and pair work. When they are grouped, they should ask others, shall we start? Shall I start first or you? What's your answer to question 1? Let's go on. Shall we change over now? We have been discussing a topic, so we are getting bored. Shall we change over now? It's your turn. It's your turn. I have told my answer. Now it's your turn. My answer is different. Okay, you have given us an answer, but my answer is different. My answer is different from you. What is that? Yes, you mean that? So these words you should teach your students. See, in English classrooms, when English teachers create groups, most of the students in the group, most of the members of the group are keeping mum without telling even a single sentence, just because they do not know how to tell all these sentences. That is the matter. So, sorry. So this is something related to speaking skill. So I feel that now you have got an idea on what speaking skill is. Now you have got an idea on how to, what strategies you can make use for helping your students develop their speaking skill. What activities you can use for helping your students develop their speaking skill, and so on. So, thank you very much.